My name is Irene. I was born in Norman, Oklahoma. I had 4 older brothers and sisters. My father, he came to New York at 18. He found a merchant, started peddling, but the first thing he bought was a gun. He had been for his own food and for protection. He finally wound up in Oklahoma, earned enough money to buy a building in Tuttle, Oklahoma, put in his grocery store. Depression hit, so he bought a farm and left us. He built living quarters for us in the back of the house. He'd come and pick us up on Friday and we'd stay till Sunday. So we go to town schools. He did not want us in country schools because all the classes were all together. Oh, I loved going to school. I wasn't a straight A student, however, because I couldn't read. That hindered my education. I didn't go to college. Taking care of a little boy Monday through Saturday for $5.50. I would take Larry by the hand on a Friday and walk downtown. I knew the manager of one of the department stores, see if he needed any Saturday help. I did that every Saturday for I don't know how many weeks. I was getting really embarrassed. I worked there until I came to California. A clerk, but I wasn't there very long. Bookkeeper. She wanted to go on a vacation and took me into the office, taught me how to keep books. I had a sister that had been married and out here. She was a school teacher. She'd come home for the summer and she wanted to know if I'd like to go. She was a teacher in the Imperial Valley and I lived with her and worked down there until I got married. Well, he was a brother to my sister that brought me out here. Her husband, shortly after they had married, gotten tuberculosis and he was on bed rest, but I lived in the parsonage with her, and of course this brother lived in San Diego. Joe, we hadn't been married 2 weeks, war broke out. He was working at Consolidated Aircraft. Consolidated was under the contract to build B-24s. When the war broke out, Consolidated put suggestion boxes in all of the departments. They would sort through and see if there was any that would step up production. The one that had made the best suggestion got either $25 in cash or $25 war bond. And so my husband won it the first month and the second. The third month he had one suggestion that was far better than any. They transferred him up to what they call jigs and fixtures. We didn't know whether to have a family, not have a family. We had bought a little house on Pacific Beach. He always was called up in May. Cleaned our little house up again and sold it. We kept waiting and finally my son was born, but I had a very difficult delivery. I was not well, and so the doctor said, well, you have to have a place. So he was good enough to write a recommendation and we got government housing. Still no draft notice. He had been deferred because of his mechanical ability and his use to the war effort. They did finally send us an induction notice. He had his induction point moved to Oklahoma City. He moved me back to my mother's. Went in for induction. There was 300 men. He was the only one that they did not take on that draft. And he had sinus problems so bad. So he went back to Consolidated and they wanted him to start at the bottom again, and he said no way. And so that's why we stayed here. Worked as an automobile mechanic in Riverside, and then he found a place he could rent. His last place of business was Kendall Service. He had his own garage there. Then the war ended and we were up in this area and they were selling the government housing that they had for the prisoner of war. Joe and his brother bought barracks for $100 and we took those and put them on a lot and converted them into apartments. Ours are still there, and my husband built a nice big house out on the front. He said, this is your life insurance. My husband and I were married 63 years and he passed away in 2005. We had 3 children. The oldest one was Wayne, Nancy Jo, and Carla Deanne. My son went to junior college in Riverside. Then he went to San Diego State, graduated from down there, and he got married. And then I think 3 months later, he was drafted and he had to go to Vietnam. He served a year in Vietnam and he came home a whole different person. When I questioned him about what he did. He said, Mom, you can't go into a 100-foot corrugated tin building and see bodies stacked up like cordwood and it not do something to you. So some people don't realize our men were treated rotten. My oldest one did very well in banking. Secretary to the president of the bank said, well, you have to sell so many points. She says, well, I didn't go into banking to be a sales lady. Took all of her prerequisite classes to become a nurse. And so she became a nurse at 53. And her little sister has a PhD degree in nursing, taught at Azusa Pacific. I have 8 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren. I used to paint. I guess you'd say my hobbies was helping my children in Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, PTA. About activities, I've played badminton, bocce, and I tried to paint. Well, first of all, I would tell them that they're very helpful. It's clean and it's nice and there's no hesitation to help you. My mother was this way too. Make yourself satisfied anywhere you are, or you can make yourself dissatisfied. But I don't find it hard to be satisfied here.